Yo, 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 YouTube, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Another NBA Sorare content video for you today. And in this video, I'm going to give you a list of players that you can look at for under £10 in a way of spending your first £10 on NBA Sorare. So the competition I think you should target should be the limited tip-off to begin with. So you can have 4 limited cards in your gallery. Any more than that and you can't enter that competition. Once you've entered some of the other pro competitions as well, you'll no longer be able to compete in that. But as a starting point, I think it's a great place to start. I'm going to create the watch list as well from this video, and I'm going to drop that in the description down below. So if you do want to check that out, go check that out. I'm also going to make sure I add to it throughout the season as well with some bargains for you. So it's going to be regularly updated so you can keep an eye on it. If you do enjoy the content today, I'd really appreciate if you could drop a like on the video, drop me a subscribe to the channel, and also comment down below who you think I should add to this watch list. But without further ado, let's get on with it. Right, let's have a look at a few players potentially that we could look at purchasing for this limited tip-off. We're going to do score average of 1 to 100. Because I just want to see players that are playing at the moment, although this will potentially show up some of the guys that played at the end of last season and now not playing now, but at least it'll get rid of all DMPs in theory out of the team. We're going to put in £11 as the top end because potentially you can negotiate people for less than £10. And we're going to look at all positions as well. And we're just going to have a little filter through and we're just going to see who comes up on the list and who we like the look of, and players that you might want to have a look at for the lineup. So Russell's been balling out, to be fair, start of the season. Actually has surprised me. £7.89 for a Russell Westbrook. And now that he's in a team potentially with Kawhi, Paul George, James Harden, and Zubac, it looks a pretty amazing starting four. I think Russell's going to have a pretty good season, to be fair. First game started here with a 32. He did follow up with a 16 and then a 38, but then recently a 47. I think his scores are going to get better, though. I think Russell's definitely at that price. Seems very, very good value. Definitely worth a look at. You would use like 2 limits, yeah. I think if you could find the right players for the right price. We've got Keldon Johnson, 24 years of age, coming off the back of a decent performance against Phoenix Suns, which again, I think is going to be anyone that performs well against Phoenix Suns this year is definitely worth looking at. So he started the season with a 33, a 30, a 16 and 46. He's got an L10 of 32. Keldon Johnson at £6.85. I fancy the Spurs to be good this season as well. With the addition of Wemby, I think the Spurs will be very good. Keldon Johnson is definitely someone that you could look at for £6.85 and still has some change for another limited as well. Next up, we got Trey Jones, L10 of 33. Again, another Spurs player. Again, maybe a little bit of bias from me thinking that the Spurs players are going to do well this season. Hasn't been the starting point guard so far this season, but has been getting a fair share of minutes. 25, a 32 amount of minutes off the bench, which is quite impressive, 20 and 23. Some solid scoring at 31, 31, and a rough game of 9, and then 22. But I actually think for his price range at £5 and 6, it also allows you to potentially go get yourself another limited for the lineup as well, or another couple of limiteds for the lineup. You can have 4 limiteds in this lineup, and they all get a big scarcity bonus as well. So I do like Trey Jones at £5 and 6. I think he could be a really, really good pickup. I own him myself as well, so he is someone that I'm going to be using in my lineups as well. So next up, we got Rudy Gobert, £8.55. If you do pick him up, it's not leaving yourselves much change left over for another player, but he is a serial rebounder and scores pretty well in terms of Sorare. There has been some lower end scoring from him. He's actually started the season pretty well for Minnesota. We're starting off with a 47, a 32 and a 41, so he's been pretty consistent. At £8.55, I actually think he's a really good pickup as a good player. Timberwolves should be a pretty decent team this season. Some good young talent in there. Yeah, I think Rudy Gobert could be a good player to look at for your lineups. Next up, we got a veteran in Brook Lopez at 35 now. Probably the one question mark over Brook Lopez is the fact of his age. He hasn't started the season great. So we played 28 minutes and got 14, 20 minutes and got 23, and 29 minutes and got 26. So looks like he's getting his minutes cut back a little bit. If he does get back to some of the form of last season, though, he has notoriously put up some really good scores, some scores of 50 plus. And if you get someone in there that's going to score you 50 plus, you're definitely in with a chance of winning some rewards. So at £5.31, Brook Lopez could be a good pickup. Does give you some change left over to add some other players into as well. Next, we've got Jalen Green for the Houston Rockets. Second season in the league, I believe. £8.25, so quite a large chunk of the budget. I'm only really adding in him in here as a long-term investment and hold. Short-term wise, I don't think he's going to give you the reward in the early game weeks to win you rewards. Notoriously in the past, he has got some scores. There's been quite a few over 40, but only 2 above 50. But he is a massively talented player, hence he is a little bit more expensive at £8.25. But if you're okay to hold for a little bit and get some rewards later in the season, Jalen Green could definitely be a good pickup for you. Next up, Aaron Gordon. And I stayed up to watch the first NBA game of the season against the Lakers. And I was quite impressed with Aaron Gordon, to be fair. Notoriously in the past, he has scored okay, nothing special. Start of the season with a 40 against the Lakers, then follows it up with a 26, 25, and 26. Decent minutes, nothing spectacular. Obviously against the Thunder is a bit of a blowout, so he only played 23 minutes. I like what I see, though, from him. And at £9.73, it would be all of your budget, so you need to make sure that you've got some good common cards around him. But he is definitely a very, very talented player and someone that I believe on a game week can bang and win you a reward. So, yeah, I like Aaron Gordon. Next up, we got Norman Powell. A fairly average start to the season for the Clippers. He might find his game time goes down a little bit with James Harden just announcing the trade to the Clippers as well. But he's a fairly solid player. He's not one, when he is playing, he's not one to let you down. And obviously he's been coming off the bench. He's got 22 minutes, 25 minutes, 19 minutes, 28. If he can keep those minutes up, he could be a really useful piece to the team as well, because he is only £3.83. Which would also allow you to have a few other limiteds in this limited tip-off lineup. So I don't mind Norman Powell as well as a bit part player for your team. So next up, we got RJ Barrett, £8.55. Now, again, this is one that I'm probably putting in there because of the talent side of the player rather than the ability to help you win rewards every other game week or whatever. A very good player, but unfortunately is on a Knicks team that are probably a little bit average at the moment. So got a cap of 29 on the L10. Notoriously in the past, there has been some good scores, 58, 52, 53, etc. Like I say, he's very, very talented, but you would be putting all your eggs into the one basket that he's going to bang for you one game week. And you'd have to make sure you've got some really decent commons around him. £8.55 gives you a little bit of change to get one other really cheap player in there. For that scarcity bonus, but I do like RJ Barrett as a talented player, and I actually think £8.55 is good value, if not for rewards, as a card to hold. Next up, we've got Buddy Hield, L10 of 29, £4.57, gives you some leftover change to add some other pieces to it, and I do like Buddy Hield because he's very consistent. There has been some higher end 40 pluses as well in the past, but he rarely lets you down, even in limited minutes. So he's coming off the bench and getting 23. Oh, sorry, that was last season. 25, 18 minutes, and he's getting 31, 20, 22. Never going to let you down, Buddy Hield. But on the flip side, he's probably not going to get too many of these big scores. But as a part of your limited tip-off lineup, I actually think he's a really good value at £4.57. So that's Buddy Hield. Next up is Kelly Olynyk. A bit of a veteran now at 32, £3.54. I think he definitely deserves to be in the conversation for players that you might want to add in. L10 of 29. Notoriously, again, he's a very consistent scorer. He's not one that's going to win you the lineups, but what you need is you need these bit part players with their bonus in your lineup to go alongside your mad commons that you get when you first draft at the start, with like your Luka Doncic's, your Joel Embiid's, your Nikola Jokic, your Giannis Antetokounmpo. You need players like this that you can put alongside them because they're not all going to fit in cap-wise. And again, he's a very, very consistent player. So yeah, Kelly Olynyk is definitely someone to look at £3.54. Next up, we got Jeremy Sochan and £7.22 of your budget. But I feel like this guy has got a hell of a lot of potential. 20 years old. Grew up in Milton Keynes as well, not too far away from where I have grown up myself. And I've worked in Milton Keynes before as well. So maybe a little bit sentimental with putting him in this list. But he's a very good player, and he seems to now be the starting point guard for San Antonio Spurs at the moment. A rough game against the Clippers, but the Clippers are really good this year. 29, 28, 7 and 23. So nothing spectacular this year, but I'm banking on him having a bit of a breakout season. And for the talent these guys, £7.22, I think he could definitely be a good pickup, and his cap's at 27, so it allows you to put a few other pieces around him as well. So yeah, Jeremy Sochan going into that list as well. Next up, we've got Tim Hardaway, 31 years old, cap of 27, £4.42. Again, would allow you to get a couple of decent players, some of the players that maybe we're looking at today, by getting him in your lineups. He's had a half-decent start to the season for Dallas as well. 27 minutes, 30 minutes, 29 minutes. So even though he's coming off the bench, he's actually getting a fair few minutes. So 34, 26, 28. It's a pretty consistent start. He is capable of getting those green scores of 40 plus. Could be a good piece for your lineup. Next up, we've got Max Strus. And this is a common card that I used quite a bit last season because he had good cap value. His cap has gone up a little bit to 26. And he is a lot more in price now, £9.58. He has started the season pretty well, though. He started off with a 58. 27, 46. Then he finished with a 15, so not so positive, but he's getting a lot of minutes for Cleveland now that he's moved from Miami Heat. Could be very beneficial, the fact that he's getting all these minutes in terms of his scores. So definitely someone to consider for your limited tip-off lineup, but you would be putting all your eggs in that one basket with Max Strus. Next up, we've got Kevin Looney, and at £6.04, I feel like he's a little bit criminally underpriced. His cap of L10 is 26. And he's quite a consistent scorer. He is now a star at Golden State, although his minutes are still a little bit on the low side with 27, 28, 26, 24. But I feel like he is definitely someone that can come in and do a job. And he has got some green scores notoriously in the past in the 40s. And now that he's getting some starting minutes, he could potentially take that next level. But again, at £6.04, it does allow you a little bit of extra money to get some other pieces around him. So with that XP bonus, that's going to help you out. So yeah, Kevin Looney is definitely a good option to look at. Next up, we got Corey Kispert. And this is more as a budget option of someone pretty reliable that's going to get you decent minutes each game week. And he's still a young talent as well. Hasn't hit the heights yet in the NBA in terms of scoring. Minutes have been pretty solid to start the season, 24, 31, 23, all from the bench. But I feel like at £2.95, he is very, very cheap. And obviously, if we're saying we can potentially get ourselves almost 4 players that are like that to go in your lineup and then have one big boy, that could work. If you got Jokic with 4 versions of Kispert, with the XP bonus you get through having it as a limited card, the upside to that is pretty decent. So yeah, I actually think Corey Kispert is pretty good value. So we got Ivica Zubac, £5.60, L10 of 24. And I actually think he's really good value. Starting centre for the Clippers. Clippers having acquired Harden, as we mentioned on one of the earlier players. I think this could do wonders for his scoring, having Harden in the team as well. He's going to get rebounds anyway, but he's also got the chance of getting some more scoring with the creativity that Harden's going to bring to that team. Even though he is the starter, though, his minutes are a little bit down. So they kind of need to hopefully see some games like the first one against the Timbers, where he got 25 minutes and 43 points. After that, he got 19 minutes, 22 minutes, 22 minutes. But I think for that value of £5.60, again, like we mentioned with the scarcity bonus, it allows you to get a couple of other pieces for that lineup. So I actually think Zubac is a good pickup. Next up, we've got Kyle Lowry, another veteran, 37 years of age. £4.42, but seemed to have get himself a starting spot on the Miami Heat roster. And I think Miami Heat are going to have a decent run this season. Not the most amazing of starts. 31 minutes, 14 points, 31 minutes, 34 points, 32 minutes, 14 points, and then 27 minutes, 22 points. But he should be a very consistent performer for Miami. Obviously, their record at the start of the season is 1-3. They've had some issues with Jimmy Butler having a little bit of an injury and Bam Adebayo having a little bit of an injury as well. But I think over the course of the season, Miami will come good. Good group of guys that they've got there. And I think that Kyle Lowry will do pretty well. So £4.42 gives you some money left over as well. Definitely worth considering. Next up, we got Robert Covington, and is now at the 76ers after being part of the blockbuster James Harden trade. At £3.09, so very, very good value. L10 of 16 as well, so it does allow you to put some really good pieces around him in that competition with your common cards, and also allows you to put some other limiteds in there as well. In terms of scoring, obviously haven't got a lot. He didn't play last game because he obviously had the trade. He was a star of the Clippers. I believe now he's going to be the starting power forward at the 76ers. Alongside Joel Embiid. So I think that he's going to do really well there. I think he'll be starting there. I think he'll be getting plenty of minutes. And he's a very, very good player. So Robert Covington at £3.09 is definitely worth looking at. And then last one for today's video, we got Daniel Gafford. And this is a pick from the chat telling me that he's a very, very good shot blocker. And probably the best centre on the Washington Wizards roster. £4.12, so it does allow you to get some players around it, and a cap of 26 on his L10. Hasn't had the most amazing start to the season. 21 minutes, 18 points, 28 minutes and 28 points, and then he had an ankle issue for the next game. But going forward, we expect some good things from Gafford, and definitely one to consider and allow you to get some other pieces to the puzzle. So guys, that's the end of the video, and this is the watch list. It's been made. It's called Spend Your First £10. It's on the Sorare Data website. It's a basketball watch list, so make sure you have a check under there, or check out the link in the description down below. But I really do appreciate you watching the video if you've made it this far, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.